Joining us today to take part in AeroTime's Women in Aviation campaign is Shelli Brunswick. She is the Chief Operating Officer of Space Foundation, a diversity and inclusion officer at Women Tech Network, and a mentor and advocate for women pursuing STEM subjects. Shelli has long been a champion for diversity and inclusion issues, and in her own diverse and impressive career, she has taken many opportunities to promote and encourage people, especially from underrepresented groups. She is truly passionate about space and is well known in the space community as she contributes to the development of the next generation of people working in the space industry. Shelli has been recognized for her leadership, her energy, and her contribution to the sector, and she was selected as the 2020 Role Model of the Year by Women Tech. She is also an appointed woman of influence by the Colorado Springs Business Journal and is a top woman in aerospace and aviation to follow on LinkedIn. Shelli, thank you so much for joining us here at AeroTime today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be joining you. And obviously, this is a really important subject as we want to bring more diversity into the space ecosystem.
Well, and that is exactly what we would love to hear more about from you today. And, you know, there is so much to talk to you about, and I really don't even know where to start. I've never actually seen a LinkedIn profile with so many entries on it. So it's impossible to cover everything in this interview, but I really want to start by asking you, what brought you into this industry in the first place?
Well, that's a really great question. And I was an Air Force officer, but I want to tell you my whole story. I really have three chapters of my career. And that first chapter was right out of high school, I enlisted in the US Air Force. And then I went to school at night, served my country during the day, and got my degree and applied to be an officer in the Air Force and was fortunately selected, but not on the first try. We'll talk about that later. And when I was selected to be an officer, that's when my space career began because I was selected to be a space project manager for the Air Force. And that led me on a whole new adventure, which brought me to where I am today, which is the third chapter of my career working at Space Foundation.
And you've had many leadership roles. You've mentioned some of them there. You've mentioned your career started in the Air Force. I mean, I know that you've had many roles in organizations and in industries that have been seen by some as being very male dominated. And, you know, that's really where the start of our campaign around women in aviation came from. But have you actually encountered any challenges or barriers that have really impeded your career path?
They may have been there. I didn't really notice them. I do remember one time in a meeting, somebody came up to me and said, "What is it like being the only woman in the room?" And I kind of looked around and I went, because I didn't realize I was the only woman in the room. I've never felt that I'm the only woman in the room. And hopefully someday we'll never think that way. We're just people in the room, leading decisions, taking action to make the world a better place. And so I've never seen that. What I tell people is, when you have goals and objectives, you have to work at them every day. And some days they're easy to work at, and some days you feel there are setbacks, but don't give up.
And when you give that advice, because we know that you give a lot of advice to young people wanting to come into this industry, when you give that advice, what kind of reaction do you get? How do you encourage people to really explore the possibility of developing that career in the space industry?
Well, at Space Foundation, we do have a 5-step workforce development roadmap, and it's awareness, access, training, connecting, and mentoring. And you mentioned that in my bio. Many times, a good mentor can help individuals navigate the career pathways so that they can find where they want to be and how they want to get there. And the other thing I always share is you need to find mentors, champions, and coaches. A mentor is someone who can help you target one focus area. I want to be the best aerospace engineer. A coach can help you become more of a leader, help you develop your overall leadership style. And then a champion is someone who is several levels above you, who can help position you for the next step in your career. So it takes building those relationships, maintaining those relationships, and then remembering that you too can be a mentor and help the next person find their way in the space ecosystem.
And I think you've clearly played all of those roles through your career. And I know that you've clearly played all of those roles with some of the younger people that you're trying to develop and trying to help with their career. But which one of those three roles do you think best suits you? And which one do you think is your favorite role to play for others?
You know, it really depends on the individual who's asking for your insight. So, you know, they're the customer in this situation, and we all know in good customer service, we need to listen to what the customer's needs are. I've had some proteges ask me to mentor them because they want to be an entrepreneur. So that's really being more of that, you know, mentor focused area. How do I become a great entrepreneur? And then I've had some individuals who are more mid-career and they're wanting to transition from one career into the space ecosystem. And that's more being that coach, that overall, how do you look at your overall skill set? How do we reposition you so you can go out and come into the space industry? And then I have fortunately been able to help some individuals navigate the landscape and position them for future jobs. So I have played all three roles, and I really say it's up to the individual who's asking for your insight on how best you can help them.
So we know that you were selected to be a Space for Women Network member, and you are taking the role of a founding member and a global ambassador of Women Tech Network as well. I mean, there's an awful lot in all of that. I mean, how do you find the time to play all of those roles? And, you know, why is it so important to you that you're able to provide the support and education and mentoring for women that are looking for a career in space? What is it that drives you to try and give that advice and support?
Well, it's an excellent question, but I think it's like most people that are passionate about what they do and passionate about helping the next generation. I am very passionate about space. I think this is the future ecosystem that's going to drive so much technology, create jobs, as well as create sustainability efforts for our planet here on Earth. So I'm very passionate about promoting it and encouraging individuals to come into this space ecosystem. And I also believe in giving back because I was so fortunate to have great mentors, champions, and coaches in my career and throughout the Air Force that it's only right for me to give back. So again, I encourage all your audience members, no matter where they are in their career, they too can mentor somebody else. You know, if you're just coming out of college and you're starting that first career, you're perfect to mentor that college student or high school student to help them make those transitions into that space ecosystem.
So you're very much well, you're a diversity and inclusion officer. You're the role model of the year 2020, named by the Women Tech Network. And you know, if anybody follows you on LinkedIn, and if they don't yet, they really should. But anybody who follows you on social media sees that you are a speaker and a participant in many conferences, including very big space conference over the course of the last week or so. But what do you think about the number of female role models that are available and the number of female role models that are actually active in the industry today? And what really needs to happen now to increase that number?
Well, when we think about diversity in the space ecosystem, we have to think about diversity, male and female, young and old, regions of the world, and different backgrounds, because there are so many careers now that are open to the space ecosystem. Like we've already talked about STEM careers. Well, absolutely, we need astronauts and rocket scientists in the space ecosystem. But I also need space lawyers and space policy advocates and entrepreneurs and artists and project managers and technical skills. So the idea is not only to create just female role models, we really just need to create role models, all ethnicities and regions of the world, so individuals can see themselves and how they can come into the space industry. And we've done that at Space Foundation through our Space Commerce Entrepreneurship Series, where we highlight different entrepreneurs, different career paths, different regions of the world. You know, I have a space lawyer in the UAE who has inspired a woman in Namibia to become a space lawyer. She wanted to be a lawyer, but she didn't know she could do it. But when she saw another space lawyer, she was like, I can do this. So again, it's about creating those career paths and showing what is possible.
You mentioned the space economy, and I mean, this is something that I know many people are really interested in. In your current role as COO of Space Foundation, I know that it's something you obviously take a very keen interest in. But what do you think is the most exciting and, of course, the most helpful potential development around that space economy for humanity in the future?
Excellent. Well, first, I want to highlight that in 2020, the global space ecosystem was $447 billion, dollars, and it's projected to grow to 1.3 trillion by 2030, according to Bank of America, and over 3 trillion by 2040. So you're seeing exponential growth, and you're seeing that in all emerging technologies, data analytics, robotics, artificial intelligence, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, advanced manufacturing, as well as robots and on-orbit assets and going to the moon and Mars. So there's an opportunity for everyone to really look at that space ecosystem. And all the technology I just shared with you really benefits us here on Earth. Yes, we're going to use some of that technology to get off planet and to go to the moon and Mars, but we're really going to turn around and use that technology to benefit us here on Earth. And we can think about that in agriculture. We need to increase crop yields. We need to look at climate change. So we can use space technology to help increase agriculture. And we're going to have to figure out agriculture growing methods on the moon and Mars as well. We can look at healthcare and all the healthcare that has benefited us from the space industry, such as cataract surgery and mammogram technology. Well, to live off world, we're no longer going to have the safety of our atmosphere to protect us from the sun's radiation. So we have to look at technology that will help us live as human beings off planet. Women develop osteoporosis, men have eye problems, you can develop cancer faster and other things. Well, we can use that technology to benefit us and make our lives more quality here on Earth. And then we can also look at climate change, monitoring the planet as we see weather patterns, as we see potential droughts. Can we put food supplies in place? Can we help farmers grow more food? So there's limitless technology, energy and energy storage solutions. We know to live off planet Earth on the moon and Mars, we're going to need different energy and energy storage solutions. We need those here on Earth too to solve many of the climate change challenges we have. So as we think about going to space, I really hope your audience realizes by developing those space technologies, they're going to better life on Earth. And where are those space technologies? NASA has thousands of patents that are waiting to be developed from the space industry, as well as the European Space Agency. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for a great idea on how to better humanity, you can go to both the NASA Technology Transfer Office as well as the ESA Technology Transfer Office.
Wow. I mean, that's I, I think you've pretty much just said that everything that we are doing in space and for future space exploration is actually going to be just as valuable here on Earth today as it will be in the future as we, progress towards that exploration. And you're clearly a huge advocate for space technology, innovation, entrepreneurship. We've just mentioned all of those things, and clearly passionate about how that space economy will develop in the future. But just picking up on what you were just talking about, do you think that enough is being done at the moment to actually benefit from all of that investment in that space technology for the benefit that we could in fact see here on Earth in all of those areas that you just mentioned? I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing that some of that space technology work can actually be hugely beneficial to try and solve some of the global issues that we are currently facing.
Well, at Space Foundation, we have always had a Space Technology Hall of Fame where we honor space technology that has been commercialized to benefit life here on Earth. During 2020, during the pandemic, three of the technologies we inducted was telecommunications, teleconferencing, and telehealth. All would not have been possible without space technology, and they all made the pandemic somewhat easier than the pandemic of 1918, where we did not have that technology and children had to go to school and we had to still go to the doctor. Now we can telehealth. You and I can talk right now thanks to space technology and cybersecurity. And every day, every human being who's using one of these is using three different types of space technology in your cell phone alone. So I share with your audience that from the breakfast you eat this morning that was grown with precision agriculture, that was shipped to you by GPS transportation, your food has come to you because of space technology, your cell phone, your communications, your Wi-Fi, your television is all based on space technology. Getting around in your automobile is all based on space technology. So what I share with people is you're already in the space industry. You just might not know it.
Well, I really shouldn't admit this, but as a very keen Trekkie since I was very, very young, I'm delighted to hear that I am in fact already in space, because it's a dream of mine. I'm sure it's a dream of yours and a dream of many other people that you will encounter to just touch space. And of course, we've seen in recent months lots of developments in the space sector. SpaceX, Virgin Galactic launch. There's so many things happening, and you just talked about some incredible numbers in terms of the amount of investment that's going into that space economy that's developing all of the time. But I can't really interview anyone at the moment, Shelley, without just touching on that COVID period, because during the COVID period, many businesses have really suffered. Many businesses have seen their budgets slashed, innovation budgets slashed. But what you're talking about here is actually an industry that is seeing huge strides, making huge strides forward and really seeing a lot of development. So it kind of feels as if the space industry has performed and has come through that whole COVID pandemic in a much better way than many industries have. But why do you think that would be the case?
So there are three different types of countries that participate in space. So let me start with that. There's approximately 85 plus countries that are operating in space. Then there are countries that want to be emerging space countries that want to operate in space. And then there are countries that want to harness space technology to better the quality of life of their constituents, their people. That is all countries on planet Earth. So right now, space is touching every human being on planet Earth in one way or another. And so that exponential growth and the opportunities to participate are limitless. And when we talked about entrepreneurship, I really highlight that because when you think about an entrepreneur, not only are they creating a job for themselves, but then they create a job for others. And that's where you get economic growth and development. And when they're harnessing and developing space technology, then they're going to also benefit other human beings that will be able to take advantage of it. So when you think about COVID, space was still in business and actively growing during 2020. We could not find enough workers in the space ecosystem. So although people were losing their jobs, there were still jobs open. There may have been a skills mismatch. So that there needed to be some of that upskilling and reskilling to come into the space industry. But we have done the data analytics at Space Foundation and have proven that individuals who may be a STEM professional in the space industry versus a STEM professional not in the space industry is paying higher salaries. So I share with your audience that the space industry is offering great opportunities both in the US as well as around the world. And even during COVID, we were still growing. You saw multiple launches, not just from the US, but from China, as well as the UAE launched their Hope probe to Mars. You're seeing all the commercialization of space tourism, which is really a foundation for building the infrastructure to create that cislunar orbit. And you're creating job opportunities. So I share with you that space is open for business. There are opportunities for all. And our goal at Space Foundation is to partner with organizations like yourself to get that message out, to bring everyone to the table so that we can help everyone on planet Earth benefit from space technology.
And I guess that's really the main reason why we were so keen to speak to you and to include you in our Women in Aviation campaign 6-month special. We launched that campaign back on International Women's Day, March the 8th. We've been going for around 6 months now, and we have profiled and spoken to leading women in all across aviation and aerospace. And it's been a really interesting campaign to be a part of. But it's been fascinating to get the opportunity and the honor to speak to many people like you, Shelley, who are doing such amazing things. And I have two last questions I really want to ask you. The first one is about Space Foundation. And I think when people see Space Foundation, they probably think about certain things, but you have an opportunity now just to tell everybody what you want people to understand about Space Foundation. What is it that Space Foundation is all about? And, what's the biggest, I guess, misunderstanding about Space Foundation that we can set right now for everybody watching this interview?
Well, excellent question. First of all, Space Foundation, we advocate for innovation to better life here on Earth. So we're specifically focused on that space ecosystem of going to space and that technology that benefits us here on Earth. And we have three main divisions. So the one division most people know us for, and you referenced it earlier in the show about our annual Space Symposium conference that takes place in Colorado Springs that just happened a week ago, where we brought together the space ecosystem safely with COVID protocols in place so that they could conduct business, interact, and determine policies in the way forward. Most people know us for that symposium, and we call that our trusted information. The other area is our global alliance, and that's building partnerships and collaboration. And we're your trusted partner. But the area that's most important and I'm most passionate about is our Center for Innovation and Education, which is about creating access and opportunity for all individuals to find their way into that space ecosystem. And that's through our Discovery Center here in Colorado Springs that does programs both in person as well as virtual, our formal education programs, which is space-inspired curriculum, teacher training, our international teacher liaison program, girls STEM programs, and more. And then our Space Foundation University, which is about adult training and facilitation for entrepreneurship, leadership, innovation, and mentoring. So we believe at Space Foundation, we can help every citizen find their pathway into that space ecosystem.
It's amazing, amazing. And I know that there'll be many people who are going to want to look into this in much more detail, because I think that what your organization does is again, really inspiring. And I think that I really hope that through doing interviews like this, you'll really spread that message that actually that space economy, that space research, those space initiatives are not just for space in the future. They're actually to try and help us to combat some of the challenges we face here today on planet Earth. But you talk very passionately and very engagingly about all of those educational programs and all of the things you're trying to do. We mentioned STEM earlier on. There are so many things here. And, you know, in addition to all of the work the Space Foundation does now to help with all of these challenges, one of the big things I know you're passionate about is to encourage the future generations of people to explore roles in things like manufacturing and obviously how that impacts the space economy. You talk a lot about all of these things and how they're developing in recent years. But looking at space, looking at technology, looking at manufacturing, looking at STEM, and thinking about how our industries can really attract the brightest and the best candidates in the future. What would your advice be to a student, for example, who's watching this and thinking, wow, I want to be Shelley? You know, those young people who are thinking about where to go with their careers, where to study, what to study, the young aspiring aviators of the future who are thinking about coming into our industry. What's your message for those people?
Well, I think the message to really take is that space is open to all. And what that means is there is an opportunity for everyone, whether it's a high school graduate to PhD. High school graduates, we need you to come in. You can get certificates in cyber and advanced manufacturing and data analytics. So we have opportunities right now for you to come into that career field. I know a company that has now started engineer apprenticeship programs where you can come right out of high school, be an engineer apprentice, assistant engineer, take their tuition assistance, and then go to school and become an engineer or anything else you want to be. As well as we need those entrepreneurs, those project managers, those artists. Let's not forget journalists like yourself that help spread the word and share what space is available, as well as the STEM professions. And I do want to highlight, I did not go to college right out of high school. I joined the Air Force, went to school at night, earned my degree that way. I also want to highlight to your audience, I do not have a STEM degree. I have a business degree and an MBA. So there are opportunities for marketing and business and entrepreneurs. So there is a place for everyone. Find a mentor, join organizations that you're passionate about that will help you find your pathway, like Women Tech Network, Space Generation Advisory Council, and Space Foundation's New Generation.
Shelley, thank you so much for that. And I know that there'll be so many people who will be inspired just hearing your words today. And we really appreciate you joining us here to do this interview with us as part of our 6-month celebration of the Women in Aviation campaign. Before we end the interview, though, there's something else that I would really like to talk to you about, and that is just to reflect on so many of the things that you've talked about here, so many of the things that I've heard you speak about before, so many of the things that I see you active on social media about, and just the passion and the extraordinary devotion that you have to this industry and to so many people who are already involved with it, and those people who you and I both know will come in the future to be involved with it. And, you know, we really believe here at AeroTime that it is only right that you recognize the contribution that people make to our industry, especially those people who really go above and beyond to help those people come into our industry in the future. You mentioned earlier on that you had some great mentors in your career. I've had those great mentors too. And you and I have both probably benefited from those people in ways that we do understand, and probably in many ways that we don't understand. But we're probably both sitting here today having these conversations very much because of a lot of the work and the focus and the dedication and the energy that those people put into us and to many other people as well. And I really see a lot of those qualities and a lot of those values in you, the work you do, the message you deliver, and the way that you go about doing everything that I've seen. And so with that in mind, it's my very great pleasure to present to you virtually an AeroTime Aviation Achievement Award. So
I'll hold
this
it.
is, we're holding it here. Yeah, please hold it there. I'm trying to send it through. Maybe one day we'll have space technology that means I can send this through the camera and it will pop out the other end. But Shelley, this is an award for you. And I would like to read the citation that goes along with this award, just to explain why our global executive team here really wanted to present you with this award. The citation reads, "In recognition of her dedication and commitment to the space sector, for her impact in promoting diversity and inclusion across space, for acting as a role model for the next generation of women to pursue STEM subjects and to join the space industry. The AeroTime Global Executive Committee recognizes the positive influence of these efforts and the significance of the impact on the industry and its people, both today and into the future." So Shelley, congratulations once again on this award, which we will get to you just as soon as we can. And I very much look forward to the time when we can meet up in person. I can shake your hand and I can say thank you for the amazing work that you do, the work you have done and the work that you will continue to do in the future. So thank you so much once again.
Well, thank you. I'm deeply honored by this award. And I do want to share that I'm standing here because of the thousands who've made the way possible for me to be here, as well as those excellent mentors, champions, and role models that help plow the way for me to be where I am. And I hope to, with you, give back to the next generation so we can make their pathways for the future. And for those of you who are wondering where I'll be speaking at next, I will be attending and participating in Dubai Expo Space Week, 17 through 24 October. So I hope to join you at Dubai Expo.
Well, Shelley, I'm now definitely going to try and get to Dubai because I would love to be there. And if I can get to Dubai, I'm just going to bring the award with me. We won't put it in the mail. I'll actually bring it and I can present it to you. But thank you so much. Congratulations once again. That actually brings us to the end of this AeroTime special interview as part of our 6-month celebration of the Women in Aviation campaign. Stay tuned for more. And for now, my name is Richard Stevenson. You've been watching AeroTime. Thank you.